Warning, everything in this video and on this channel is for educational purposes only. All content is intended for viewers 21 years of age or older. All acts are performed by professionals, and all people shown are 21 years of age or older. All acts are performed under the legal Chapter 67(8)(d) here in Nevada. Please do not attempt to recreate or reenact anything you see on this channel.
Guys, we've got an incredible episode today. We're talking mutations, an assortment of mutations.
Yep. But before we do that, we're going to give a quick shout out to the sponsors who help make this episode possible.
Unlock the potential of your grow space with the AC Infinity Controller 6.9 Pro or the Controller 6.9 Pro Plus, your ultimate partner in precision environmental management. This state-of-the-art controller allows you to manage up to 4 devices, or 8 if you have the 6.9 Pro Plus, independently, adjusting for temperature, humidity, and VPD with dynamic precision. Experience seamless integration and control from anywhere using the AC Infinity app thanks to its advanced Wi-Fi and Bluetooth features. Elevate your growing conditions to perfection with the customizable schedules and the real-time monitoring. The Controller 6.9 Pro, where technology meets cultivation. Explore more at acinfinity.com or find it on Amazon and use discount code THESTASH15 at checkout.
Are you a grower? Are you tired of lugging around too many bottles? Is it too expensive? Is it so confusing? Tired of reading feed charts? Well, guess what? There is an easier way. Introducing the Stash Blend. You can now get your bag of Stash Blend premium additives that you can add to your garden using just about any base nutrients. Go to stashblend.com and get your order today.
From the Stash Podcast.
From the Stash Podcast, we are back and pretty stylish.
Hey, looking
Welcome,
pretty fly
boys.
for some white
Welcome,
guys.
boys. We look pretty cool.
We look pretty good. We look pretty good.
Thank you. Thank
good
you.
to see you, boys. Welcome back.
P came here stunting, looking as cool as he can.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Trying to step it up.
I
The
got
school-
your money.
Yep.
I
Hey,
got your money.
dirty. Why? P,
I've done nothing to look fly.
What? He's repping
P
the
like,
ACI.
well, no,
Oh,
he's
the
got
ACI, okay, yeah.
And he's got the
ACI.
sunglasses in the drip.
sunglasses right here because he's cool.
That's dad gang right there, baby.
Me, I'm rocking them so you can't see me.
Dude,
Rob Cena.
before we get too far, I want to give a huge shout out to Seedsman. Thank you for putting us on. We appreciate you for supporting the show. If you're checking out anything over on Seedsman, you can use promo code THESTASH. You can even find Stash Blend over on Seedsman as well. Pretty
It's
simple about that
amazing.
to have
It's amazing.
our name on such a big website. So that's pretty sweet.
Shout out to the team over there, man.
Pretty
They helped
sweet.
us put this together, and it has us focusing heavily on genetics, I feel.
Mhm.
With our launch of our own genetics and the thought process being behind getting deeper in the history, one thing that people seemingly really don't touch on is mutations. Natural mutations, ones that aren't issues and that aren't detrimental to your grow. These are just a part of how the plant grows. And some of them are artificially modified to be like this, and others may hate those things. Others are just naturally within the genetic makeup of how these plants were bred. And I think it's kind of cool to go over some of these things. It may help people understand some of the morphology of their plants a little bit, and also could help them see the vast variety of morphology that you see within the plants.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get too far, I actually want to highlight terpes mutant genetics. I'm sure there's a ton of breeders out there that are focusing on mutant genetics, but I stumbled across them like last year, and they focus solely on perpetuating mutants,
Yeah.
kind of exploiting that.
Professor
that
Xavier is
mutation.
what we call him in the streets.
Yeah,
You know, all he wants is the mutants, man. He's like, bring your children mutants.
come here.
It makes the craziest stuff, man. When you see some of the makeup of these, it makes you think there could be something wrong with the plant. Or it's not even the plant that we've been talking about. Like this is mint or a fern or something else. But
Yeah.
it's the crazy, unique morphology of the ugly ducklings that people have maybe kicked to the side that can bring some very unique flower that would shock a lot of people in the quality.
Yeah, I mean, one that comes to mind right away is duck's foot. So that's a mutation that was popular back in the day. I feel like not a lot of people really grow it out these days, but it is something if you want to be discreet because it doesn't really look like canna, right? It's like it looks different, and so it's easy to be discreet. You can grow it in large batches and not get known. So if you're in one of those prohibition areas, I'm sure that there's some folks that are just specializing in growing that in order to like prevent them from getting caught.
100%. When you get something that blends in, that it's only once it's towards the end of life that it's really noticeable, that it's different, that's huge, man. And I think at that point you can trick people to believing that also is a mutation of a normal, like a fern or something else. Because you'd be like, look at the leaves. That's what the masses know, herb as. They're going to look at the leaf. If it doesn't look like the Canadian maple leaf, but green, then it's not legit.
Yeah.
So I think if you have that, it's a great way to be. That's why maybe the UK has so much of that. I hear often.
True.
So they can hide it and have it blend in, plain sight.
Yeah, webbed leaves.
Yeah.
Webbed leaves on that one.
That's bizarre looking.
Didn't you have a duck's foot or no?
No.
Have either of you ever
No.
had a
Nope.
mutation of any kind?
I've had, the one that I've had was this Australian one, man. I got it.
ABC.
Yeah, I got it from a
Bastard
buddy.
Cannabis.
And I thought something was wrong with my plant and I ended up killing it off. I'm an idiot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he was like, dude, I needed the clone back, man. I wanted you. I was like, brother, I thought I had a disease or something. I don't know what was going on with this, man.
fly. Australian bastard cannabis can actually be tied in with duckfoot in the fact that its uniqueness is that it's almost unidentifiable to the traditional look. Rounded leaves, no serration on the sides. So I could see that being another one because Australia, if I'm not mistaken, has been pretty
Not kosher with
not
herb.
kosher. Pretty prohibitive.
Prohibitus. Now, from what I've read, it's very slow growth rate and low THC. So low potency is often what you'll get off of these, but you'll be able to have something that you can grow and hide within the community of your home potentially, which is pretty cool. If you think about it, you could have this in very low key.
Discreet.
Yeah, man, very discreet, and you could still enjoy the medicinal benefits of herb.
I'm curious now. It's kind of like my ignorance speaking now. Like what some of the most common, like I know Freak Show is pretty common, and you've grown it, you've smoked it, correct?
I've grown it too.
I don't think
Didn't like
I don't think I had it. But from what I hear, a lot of people say it's not overwhelming in the effect. Are any mutations overwhelming in effect? I'm curious if the mutation is like
taking away some of that.
From
I thought the same exact thing. I thought because it's taking so much time to grow with a deficiency, not a deficiency, but with a mutation of sorts, like somebody with a shorter arm than the other, DJ Paul style. And you may have the disability, and it's disability to not produce high THC.
Okay, yeah, I'd be curious. If you're getting
Potentially could be. I mean, the growth is different. Then you look into something like I wouldn't say gene manipulation per se, but like polyploids, the extra chromosomes.
Well, before we move on from ABC,
You got the ABC.
Yeah, I think hashtag let Kurt speak.
Let him talk. God.
No,
Pigeons?
I want to give a shout out to Shadowborn Genetics. And I think he follows all of us. And he has so many different crosses, but he sent me over a cross, which ABC cross with something else. I have to look it up. But I'm excited because I've never actually grown ABC before, but seeing what he did in particular, as far as taking that, crossing it with something else, I want to see the result that he's getting out of it.
Yeah.
That comes out of that. Because, you don't hear about many people working it in their breeding lines.
That's the thing. I feel like with people who are doing that, that's a unique value add in the sense that you have an aesthetic houseplant feel to some of these. And it just is exotic. It's almost a conversation piece. I know having that old fern in my plant, my plant in my garden was that Freak Show is a freak show for the name is perfect. When you show people that, like, what the hell is that? Like, it literally will stop you in your tracks when you're looking at the room. Now, again, the smoke wasn't ideal.
Oh, here we go. So I had to look it up. He did an Australian bastard cross with blueberry muffin. F3.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So this is what
It could have some kick.
It really sparks my interest there.
That's different.
What's going to come out of that?
That blueberry could be what gives it that
Yeah, man.
over the top.
The blueberry muffin from Humboldt Seed Co. is one of the most blueberry cultivars I've ever seen. From what I've seen in the grow, lower yielding cultivar. So maybe putting these two together, you're going to have very low yielding. But we'll see. It could be a very unique expression that comes from something that you wouldn't have got because it's not a traditional breeding process. The unique part of having these mutants, I feel like, is people haven't grown them out so much to see if there is a new chemical makeup that's different. A terpene that's not expressed as much, or the entourage effect where maybe your THC is lower, but you're getting a medicinal effect that you never would have gotten because they're growing in a different morphology as a whole, which then the energy creates different bud. I don't know. All bro science. Just a thought.
Curious. I think the kind of the experimentation or the science behind, our plant is pretty weak, let alone of mutations, right? So it's like, because the number of breeders that are doing this, I think, are very slim.
Well, and that's
that are
where,
really
like,
exploiting.
what's going on right now is chemical induced mutations. That's where I was getting into with the polys or with triploids, even, unfortunately. And I know, chat, I know, we don't like those. But some people are swearing by larger yields. Scrogger grew one out from another brand, and they got, raving reviews from him. He said, great yielder, tons, dumping, very resinous, and knock on wood. It could be a situation, because I have it too, trilogy seeds, that's what it is. So as soon as I knocked, brain kicked in. Those are going to be ones that have a future for commercial grows. Again, I don't know about the home grower because sterilization of the reproduction is not going to produce any seeds, but a lot of us don't care about that as much as we'll clone it and keep it going. But I have other people saying that while it yields more, they've noticed that the potency and the terpenes aren't as enunciated. So they'll get more trichome production, or they'll get more yield for biomass, but not for cannabinoids. So for me, I'm doing it more for cannabinoids these days. I don't know if I'd care about that. What's your guys' feeling on the chemical-induced mutations?
Bring it on.
Bring it?
Bring it on. Whatever. It's not going to hurt anybody. So
no, unless you're growing in a V-Grow and you put a donut triploid in there, and
so triploids are chemically induced.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've grown out the donut. They can
triploid. So the natural so for them, they claimed it was a natural process, but you still need, I believe, the colchicine. Put the pronunciation in the chat, please. And that's going to be essentially how you add the extra chromosome.
What is that thing that you were trying to say? I've never even heard of that.
It's a chemical essentially that you treat in breedings, and that'll get the polyploid. But when you look at the triploid, you can't have a natural process allegedly of that. But from what I'm reading, the natural process still involves chemical induction. So that is something that scares me in a sense. That's where we're getting into too much gene manipulation. And the mutation isn't so much in the morphology, it's in the chemical compounds and how the plant grows. So it's like that end is mutation for me I don't like. You know what I'm saying? Internal components. I'd rather see the botanical mutations.
I've grown out the donuts triploid. Unfortunately, it only made it to day 20 something of flower, and then there was just pollen sacs all over, with the flower. So it hermed out.
But it didn't have seeds.
Yeah, there was pollen loaded all over the buds. I don't want to consume that. I don't want to pick off the pollen sacs. So
but it was sterile.
I know different strokes for different folks. There are people who commented, because I did make a video on this. People commented like, "Oh, we'll just pluck them off. Why didn't you just continue plucking them off?" It's a tedious process. Sit there and pluck off pollen sacs all the time. Especially when you're on day 20, day 25. Okay, for the next 40 to 60 days, however long it takes to flower, you're going to be sitting there plucking off pollen sacs.
Nope.
And when you're plucking off those pollen sacs, you bet some of them are breaking out and going all over the place. So
but it's sterile.
I'd rather not. That's just my personal preference, but I can see how other people are going in there and spending the time plucking off the pollen sacs, and they don't have as high of a standards, and so they don't mind smoking the pollen, for example. Different strokes for different folks, but for me, I just killed it off on day 20. I think it was like day 25 or something like that, very early, just because I didn't want to have to deal with the hassle. And unfortunately, I've heard a lot of people have that same issue with the donuts triploid in particular. I know there's a big controversy behind it. We won't get too deep into it on this episode, but yeah, it doesn't look so like a bright future for triploids.
At least not for that project.
And you know what? It's like I have no problem with modifying for mutations or for anything, for any reason, as long as we're not replicating the plant and pushing it in a pharmaceutical fashion. I'm okay, right? We're not creating this cannalol or something that's just not our plant. It's just a pharmaceutical. As long as we're not doing that, and we're just introducing other elements or variables into the genetic
to have it
code,
naturally increase after unnaturally giving it the steroid.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine. As long it's no different than eating like GMO salmon. It's genetically modified salmon, where it was born and raised to be eaten. So it's like it's got a little intervention. It wouldn't have been like this had we not intervened. It's still healthy for you. I guess that's an argument.
Yeah,
I guess that's an argument. But
I might be giving you something 10 years down the road.
That's it.
We don't know
third
about.
Eye.
That's always my concern. Like the chemical induced manipulation of the plant scares me. No matter how we paint it, I'm too ignorant on it.
When you use the word chemical, yeah, it doesn't sound all that great. But if I think of genetically modifying it in regards of just using other genetically available
like
elements,
CRISPR technology.
With CRISPR technology,
like a petri dish.
Yeah. You're just taking X chromosome here, or particular chromosome here, and you're just putting it in here. You're not adding a nuclear biohazard material and hoping that it just
The problem is with this though is you're adding that unnatural chemical. Into
that's
the
what
mix,
you said too.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Oh,
But
you're
again,
right.
some people claim they're doing it naturally by selecting a certain genetic that then has this reproductive trait when they come together, and it'll create the triploid.
Couldn't you argue that like colloidal silvers is something similar to that?
In a sense, it's an unnatural way to have it reproduce.
Right.
When you think about it,
What
that's a
is that
gene
chemical?
manipulation.
Like colloidal
Not
silver.
gene manipulation, but that's manipulation of the genetics. I guess, yeah. That's
And colloidal silver, what is that? Because that's a natural product, isn't it? That's not a
chemical.
man-made chemical, is it?
yeah.
It is?
Colloidal silver, for
Yeah,
sure.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So
you-
then, yeah,
And
then
then
that-
there's STS, silver thiosulfate.
yeah,
right.
but
Which
it's like
is also natural or chemical?
Chemical.
yeah.
Okay, so then I would argue it's the same thing. You're introduced like
Touche.
maybe.
Now that we're thinking out loud, I'm like, shit, it's not supposed to pollinate itself, but we forced it to do it. So
with
again,
a chemical.
the chemical induction of then becomes a natural reaction from the chemical. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to introduce one. You have to introduce A to get B.
Some scientist out there is just shaking their head.
Pissed
Guys,
off,
it has
shaking like,
nothing to do
Yeah,
with
right.
that.
There's somebody in
right?
the comments that are gonna.
Let us know below. We're just some guys talking about it. We're home growers who want to take it to the next level. And over the years, the things that we've learned are so eye opening that these kind of conversations are fascinating to me.
Yeah,
the what ifs,
100%.
man. It's like conspiracy
100%.
theories. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's more entertainment and education, but it's the journey is the fun part.
Yeah.
You know, discovering what it really is.
There are a ton of mutations that I know nothing about, but there's a couple that I think that people would really understand, and one of them is the polyploids.
Yeah,
You kind of
that's-
touched on
yeah.
that one. That's like an extra set of chromosomes. Typically turns into like two buds, heads.
Well, and
in
people
one.
are claiming that these are the better yielding and better yielding everything, cannabinoids and flower. And I have yet to see that. I don't know.
Well, we were saying, does the mutation take away from the other variables? Well, if you have an extra set of chromosomes, you'd almost argue that it has an extra set of success.
That's Down syndrome for humans,
It
correct? So
no
yeah,
extra set
Extra
or
chromosome?
less.
extra chromosome.
Oh, it's extra chromosome.
So I'm always confused in a sense of how the plant's production changes from that. But I guess it's a different. We're different. Our chemical makeups are different between plants and humans. But it's weird to me that that's what happens from it. It gives it more of a strength. It gives it more vigorous production. I don't know.
Physically, yeah, I wonder too how it affects its chemotype or the chemovar,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
chemical profile. Because I've had a handful of polyploids, right, and it seems like the flavor is different from the regular plant. You know, what
Yeah,
I mean? So if
slight
you got two of the
variation.
same different strains grown in the same environment, one of them ends up being a polyploid, and the other one's just regular. There's a difference in chemical
Yeah.
profile. At least my experience there is.
100% same thing. Like I said, it seems like a light version of the other one. Like I'm like, wow, the buds are denser, bigger, girthier trichomes.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, why does this seem like a light version? Like it's almost what it is. It's like I duffed the flower. I rolled up a blunt and I put half of it was just some mids. It's still pretty good. It kind of tastes it, but it's just not quite there. I think a lot of misconception too with it. And the more as science evolves, we'll understand more of it. But I'm still a firm believer. I'm paranoid of chemical mutation. But now I'm saying this about selfing, and I've selfed my plant. So yeah.
And talking about polyploid, there's some debate on whether or not those physical characteristics that we see from that is actually fasciation, I think is that how you pronounce it, which is actually the stems on the buds end up being flat. And
Yeah.
that's can lead to it. And so anytime I've posted and said, hey, this is a polyploid, people always try to, correct me. But when I look up the definition, it's a little bit different than what I'm seeing. So I definitely think there's some confusion there, and we need some clarity on what's what.
It's a seventh and a quarter. It's the same argument. It's just somebody out here's like, this is what it is. It's okay. Another one that I've seen is a natural environmental one. And this happens, I've even seen knuckling or what do they call that? Like fingery buds. What's the better? Foxtailing. Foxtailing is a mutation you see in the flower, but what about triple leaf or Warloid phyllotaxy?
Horde phyllotaxy.
There you go.
Horde
Smarter guy than I.
phyllotaxy. Sorry.
Horde phyllotaxy.
Whores.
That one, I just
Sorry.
call it triple leaf. This one being environmental stress. That's
Is it entirely?
Not complete. I think your genetic factor is based on that. But from what I understand, it won't come out unless it has the environmental impact, and usually stress induced, which is bizarre. But if you're doing it properly, you're able, just like a crop steering, people have seen higher yields on this as well. So, and this is just from what I read. I've never experienced heavily that. I've seen like a couple of my leaves starting like that when it was really hot, where I'm like, oh shit, there's only 3 blades on there. What's going on? And then it starts to grow into itself. So I don't even think much of it. But I've seen it plenty of times.
I've had it plenty of times.
Yeah.
Lord Phyllotaxy, yeah, just sprouts up and it's got 3 different branches coming out instead of just those 2.
Yeah.
And maybe they say it leads to a larger yield because, well, you've got more branching right off the bat, right? If you
More
top those right
satellites.
away, then you've got more branches than you would with just the 2 branches coming out to begin. So, yeah, I can see why people would say that one is a bigger yielder. But I've come across that probably a dozen times, maybe 2 dozen times over the 15 years I've been growing. So that's one of the more common ones, I feel like.
Or
Yeah.
Phyllotaxy, eh? That's an interesting one.
I just
don't
always
think
have
I've
called
ever
it
come across
triple leaf. Like that's just what it is. And I just looking it up because I typed it in. I was like, triple leaf. And then it's like, here's what it is, dumb. I'm like, oh.
I would argue that some of the most common I see is the leaf bud. The bud in the middle of the leaf.
100%.
I see
That's a weird one too, man.
But it's a beautiful
It always is
one.
really cool when it's just
like,
a faded leaf.
wow.
I think Luke posted one before where it was like a purple, amber looking leaf and then just a vibrant green bud in the center. I was like, whoa, what? It's literally like one you want to take and frame.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's just a tiny little bud, maybe a couple
Yeah.
calyxes, it looks like maybe on there. And they're often very frosty too.
You
Like,
guys,
'cause they, or at least maybe they're frosty because they're up against a dull green leaf versus
could be
all
that,
the
yeah.
other buds. Maybe. I
you,
see that one quite a bit.
You
I've yet to
Canadians
come
ever
across
do?
that.
You guys do the hand turkey for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
draw it.
It always reminded me of that when I'd see it, like a front. I
That's
don't know.
the head.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
funny.
or like a peacock or something. It's just such a unique look. And then I've seen people who will pluck that and toss it. I'm like, it's a little nug, dude. Put it in your bags, brother. It's interesting, man. Like they'll stink. They'll be covered in trichomes. They'll just be a little mutated, a little like warped to looking. Like they didn't form the big full rounded bud. They've kind of got a little bit more of a peak. You know, it's really cool to see some of those mutations on a very healthy plant. You're like, what in the hell is going on? Did I do something? Like what? Like, nope, she's just one of the X-Men, X-women.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, but you get excited because it's like she must be yielding me good if she's throwing buds out the
on
leaves,
extra
man.
spots. Yep.
She must be just a juicy one.
The only other time I've seen anything like that was on like accidental crosses that I've done. You know what I'm saying? I had this one that was Oregon tie stick crossed with a Gorilla Glue, and I was calling it something like tie glue or some stupid shit. But it always would throw that. Like it happened every single time. Leaves would just be like 7-bladed nuggy leaves. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like I didn't want to show people at the time. So I'm like, what did I do? I fucked something up. And now it's like the unique expressions of the plants people are appreciating. They like to see some of the mutations and the crazy stuff. It's like art. Again, you see somebody doing a manifolding technique. Yeah, it yields more, but the amazing look of it also is like, look at the art, the origami they're making out of their plant. Scrogging, same thing. I feel like mutations can be as well. It could be another cool expression of the unique uniformness of that gene. You know, I like it. Also with like Chill Out OG, every episode I mentioned it. Self-topping, man. I've had like self-topping with that numerous times. It just on its own, and it's called Apex Auto-Topping. Learned it. But some genetics will just do it where I'm like, I didn't top it, but it's branching out.
It's split out into 2
Yeah.
on that main one, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, numerous times. Like the 3 times I've grown it now.
That's sweet.
I'm like, what the hell?
What's the mutation called where like one leaf is white? Is it like an albino or something?
Albino.
It is? Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, it can be any part. It can be white, like the whole leaf.
Or
could be
like, yeah,
white.
like
the
half-
bud could be white.
Variegation.
Oh, you might be thinking of variegation.
Well, yeah,
Thinking that
half the
variegation.
leaf.
Oh,
went
half the
Oh.
leaf. That's two-tone.
two-tone.
Titty two-tone. Titty two-tone.
two-tone.
That's the definition.
Yeah.
And
I've had those before.
Yeah.
Two-tone.
That might be one of the only ones I've ever had. One side of it like a white, maybe
Or
yellow,
yellow, yep.
dark green, and then off maybe it was my own. It was kind of curled a little, like just
yeah,
boop.
just to the side. I know.
Just
I
off
thought
the
I had
Curl
tobacco
leaves,
mosaic virus when I had that. That was my first thought. I was like, what in the hell is going on with it? Just genetics. We have so many hybrids now that are not used to the environments we're putting them in that throw off some wacky, crazy looks, man. I think that's the cool part about trying these new genetics. Then again, like the brand you mentioned earlier, them consciously, terpenes, consciously making genetics that look this way. It's like,
Available
that's
at
so
Seedsman.
cool. Available at Seedsman, discount code the stash.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to see that being a focus. And then you look at the plants, you're like, what the hell? Every one of them, you're scrolling, you're like, what is that? That's not bud. If somebody were to show me that in like side of the road Jimmy Kimmel questionnaire thing, I'd be like, this is AI, dude. What is this weird shit?
Yeah, and
You know?
kind of tie in because we said albino. The ones where like the buds are just white.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
Yeah.
They can look like light
Light bleaching. Yeah.
but
I know.
it's a white bud.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Now that's exotic.
Yeah.
Purple bud is no longer exotic. But if I see something like that, that's exotic
Rare.
bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rare. Yeah, that's what exotic used to be.
I've had somebody hit me up and they had that and they showed a picture of it and they're like, what do I do? What's wrong with my plant? I'm like, that's an albino. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's rare. He wanted to toss it too. He's like, I'm going to throw it out. I'm like, no,
Oh,
I would say grow it out, please.
Yeah, let me
Because
see.
it's so unique, so rare. It's something that I say pretty harmless, right? But they say that there's no chlorophyll in there, so it could be a lot either slower of a grower or a smaller plant in general.
Yeah.
But beautiful structure and very, very rare. So yeah, if I ever came across one, I would definitely grow it
Oh
out.
yeah, dude, that'd be crazy content in itself, let alone for myself to see that. To harvest that is so wild, man. I still to this day, when I get the faded pretty colors of my leaves, I'm sitting in there in awe, like, oh man. It's something you just don't get over if you're into growing, you know? One other mutation, which is human induced kind of, re-vegging in the single bladed leaves.
oh.
You ever get that?
Oh yeah.
The weird, like thinking that it's done, you're screwed. It's like, what's going on? I've had plants just do this to me where like it flips into flower somehow or something and then it starts growing these weird leaves. And
Yeah.
well, what is going on? And
I don't even know if I'd almost, is that a mutation almost as much as a characteristic? Because it's like you can almost induce every plant.
in a
to do
sense,
that.
well, that's what I'm saying, a self-induced mutation
I guess you're
to
right.
be
Yeah,
making the
okay.
plant. Because
Yeah,
it wouldn't
sure.
happen unless you did something to it. Just like the
Yep.
chemical selfing,
You're right.
you know, with SNS, it's you don't have these variables come up with like the genetics like we do with some of the other ones we mentioned. Those are no gene manipulation. This is just the family. This is the one with the wonky eye. Mom had a wonky eye, daughter had a wonky eye. You know, they're goofy, but they're pretty. And in this case, this is one that you can do on your own. It's not one you're like, oh man, it's great, but don't panic if it happens. It's happened to me before, and I thought I had to toss the plant. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But then I see hundreds of other people run into it. And it's not because of my heat, not because of the water, it's none of these things. It's because, well, I just re-vegged my plant, or it again on its own. It showed pre-sex pistils. It had everything that was ready to flip, and it just like, I don't know, the hormones maybe is what it is, where it's naturally trying to flip into flower, but it can't because the lighting cycle doesn't do it. I'm not sure. But it's definitely something that's normal and is more common, not a gene manipulated thing or not anything that you'd see from chemicals. It's something that you shouldn't freak out about.
Yeah, very common. I've come across that so many times. And then another one that we said, but we didn't really get deep into is variegation.
Oh, yep.
So that one, I feel like probably is the most common out of any ones that we talk about today is going to be the variegation, often confused as deficiency. You know what I mean? It's people hit me up so much and they're like, what is wrong with my plant? And really, variegation, the best way to explain it would be you've got a green leaf, but you also have like a spotting type. It's almost like a two-tone, but it's spotty like.
Yeah.
And the pattern can be different on every leaf. You know what I mean? And so that one I've come across with just so many genetics over the year. I feel like maybe 2-3 times a year I'm coming across that. And that's one of the ones that is also harmless in a sense, where really you don't have to panic. It's natural. It'll either grow out of it in a sense, or it just doesn't cause any harm to the plant at all. So again, I see people panicking all the time when they come across it. And I often send them a link to an article that I wrote, I put it on my website, and it just clarifies everything in regards to it. It is, in my opinion, I think it's probably the most common mutation that we're talking about today.
Yeah. And things like that make you trip up and think you have disease or
Exactly. Yeah.
pests or fungus,
A
something.
viroid.
Yeah. Like it really is a tough one to tell. And then you put that leaf up against a Google image and it convinces you, yes, you do have the issue. Because these sometimes, as common as it is, are more rare in the explanation. Just like we were talking before about HLBD, you go through all of these variables and you're like, damn, it's this. Turns out this is common, but it just isn't talked about as much. And I think these variables that'll come into these plants don't show in your flower most times. Some mutations do, but the consumer has no idea that this shit happens. You know what I'm saying? I think the only one that stands out is the fern-like ones, where the bud grows airy and it's just different bud. That one I could tell. I'm like, what the hell is it? Like, why does this look like an ounce, but it's only an eighth, or it's a seventh? I think you've got the opportunity to like educate the person without deterring them from it. As where if I show you these nice buds on a duck leaf plant with half the leaf different color and all, you think I messed up. Like I did something I can't grow. Like, no. This is genetic. This is how it grows. This is what it is. It's interesting to see.
One I've never ever seen, but I know exists, is the Siamese twins. The twin seedlings.
I was gonna mention that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's like almost like a jackpot.
Yeah.
You get 2 plants out of 1 seed.
Dude, I literally had that out of the GMO cross with black maple, and I'm an idiot. Didn't water the plant properly, and one of the 2 that came out died.
Wow.
It was like the Siamese twin that died off, and they got to hurry up and amputate it because now the other one's a little wonky. I'm like, man, I should have.
You know,
You can separate those.
Yeah.
And put them in 2 different pots.
Yep.
Yeah.
that would be incredible to watch. I'd love to see that and like play out to
Yeah.
see how well it worked out.
I goofed up.
That'd
I
be
should have
cool.
tackled it quicker. It's one of those things where you see it, and like I just thought that branch split really low.
Mm.
I'm like, well, that's interesting. It must be covered in soil.
And maybe the other one might not have survived anyways.
Yeah,
It
it
might
sucked
have
all the
just-
juice out of it.
Might have just been weak.
Yep.
Who knows, right?
The run. It was the little thing that the head hanging off the head.
Yeah.
You know, it
A
didn't work.
little hand.
Yeah. It's like, hey.
Yeah, that's one I'm yet to come across. I've seen so many people come across it. It seems like it's
Yeah, it seems more common than I realized because for
Yeah.
me, I looked it up and I'm like, did I put 2 seeds in here? Like, was I that lit? And then I counted. I'm like, no, I only had 4 total. So how did this occur? And then I looked it up, and yeah, it's pretty common. It was
a thing.
one I never ran into before. Almost 20 years of growing, never ran into it. It's like we've got a lot of hybrids these days. We've got a lot of gene manipulation and cultivars that haven't experienced every environment. So now we're seeing a lot more unique stuff based on that. Just like humans would be if we're modifying the shit out of people. You know, get some wonky two-eyed with an eye on the side and an extra arm kicking over there. It's
Well, for a long time throughout human history, we had a hard time struggling between what was acceptable and not acceptable when it came to crossing bloodlines.
interbreeding.
Yeah.
We'll say. Yes.
Some states are still struggling
The
with
hills
it as
have
well.
eyes. You know.
Just kidding. But yeah, like, you know, it leads to weakness. It leads to inviolable.
Or extra chromosome strength, they say. It just depends. It
does.
Mm.
It is. Any other ones you can think of off the top of your head?
Creeper pheno.
Oh,
Creeper, right?
Yep. That's the one that's like the shitty little branches.
It's like the branches grow horizontally first, then start to grow upwards.
Yeah.
I'm
That one had me
vaguely
thinking
familiar
that
with
was HLVD. I had one growing
You
like
had
that.
one,
Mhm.
really?
I had one. I thought it was HLVD
Oh.
immediately because that's a trait. Instead of it growing up like this, they're growing straight out. And I was like, oh, shit. That's when I first got hip to it. And I killed it.
I know it's common in some tropical land races.
Yep.
So I think that's where that comes from.
It would make sense. This was I think pineapple meatballs. This dude Bridger who worked for the Franklin crew, bad guy. He made it, and the smoke was pretty good. So I was like, yeah, I'll take some seeds. And they all grew weird, and I'm like, HLVD, and I just got rid of them. I had tested them. Didn't know.
that's good. That's great conversation. And I'm sure there's a few more out there we probably missed. I can
Yeah, what did we
imagine there's
miss?
gonna
Let
be a
us know in the
ton.
comments.
Love to hear.
Yeah. What's a common mutation that you have ran into?
More importantly, I want to know if you are growing mutations. I want to know, do you enjoy the effects that come from those plants? Is it something that speaks to you, or are you doing it more out of
Aesthetics.
a hobby or just for fun kind of
Yeah,
thing? I'd be
100%.
curious to know. Huge shout out to Seedsman for putting us on for this episode, this series.
Discount
We
code
appreciate it.
Stash.
Shout out to our members for following us over at FromTheStash.com and on Patreon. We appreciate you. If you're looking for Stash Blend, StashBlend.com.
We're over on Seedsman now.
Over on Seedsman. That's
Crazy.
right.
Crazy.
That's
With
right.
that being said, it's your boy Rob from CLtv, Mr. Grow Up Pigeons 420. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.